There's no way that lady's a heartbeat away from the president.
We have seen what can be unburdened by what has been.
There's no way. There's no way someone is not telling her to stop saying that same thing over and over again.
To see what can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been? Like, she just says it over and over and over again.
To see what can be unburdened by what has been.
This isn't real. This is writing. Someone wrote this. It seems like a script.
The ability to see what can be unburdened by what has been.
Kamala blinked and boom Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly tag-teamed her reputation like it owed them money. 1 minute, she's dropping buzzwords. The next, she's getting verbally vaporized on a cosmic podcast battlefield. You won't believe how fast things went from Madam Vice President to Madam Please Stop Talking. If political careers came with seatbelts, she should have buckled up. Curious how it all went down. Stick around, this meltdown is one for the history books.
I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I did not think she was an idiot. I now think she's a moron. She's not that smart. Forgive me, I'm still one of those people who gets wooed by titles. I'm like, she was the Attorney General of the state of California. You know, like, how dumb could she be? Like, dumb. The answer is very, very dumb is the answer. And I've come to that conclusion just with my own eyes and ears from watching and listening to her. She cannot put two sentences together. I mean, the old man is actually losing his mental faculties. She's just not a smart person. And it concerns me because that's all we have in line of the Democratic.
So picture this. You're cozy on the couch, half-eaten bag of chips in your lap, and suddenly Joe Rogan is practically snorting elk jerky crumbs through his nose. Not because he's critiquing the space program, but because Kamala Harris just delivered a speech so delightfully tangled, you'd swear she was doing the world's most confusing tongue twister. Somewhere between passage of time and we did it, Joe, his laughter hits peak volume. He's convinced it's performance. Art a politician's version of abstract poetry without the abstract.
Even after Trump went on, they offered for me to come to DC and do a show with Kamala. But even then, it was the same deal. It was only like 45 minutes to an hour. It was not on my set. And I said that, look, he did it here. We should probably do it here. I wanted to release both of them on the same day. This was my goal. And I even offered to do it late that night. So the night that Trump came on, I'm like, what if we do her like when she's done in Texas? They never committed to doing it. I have a whole list of conversations that took place. So this whole idea that we've thrown over for Trump, incorrect. But I think it's someone trying to cover their ass for the fact that she never did it.
He leans forward and starts riffing. This speech isn't just a stumble. It's like someone hit the scramble button on her grammar and forgot to press stop. Joe imagines ChatGPT taking on this challenge high as a kite, interviewing neuroscientists, and still crafting something more coherent than this jumble. And here's the kicker: it wasn't a slip of the tongue, it was a full body flip. Like watching a GPS recalculating mid-route, but that GPS also starts singing show tunes at red. Lights.
I have something that I think will be of comfort to you as a Californian, and that is Kamala Harris is gone, but she's not forgotten. And she went out to the LA wildfires as her first post-vice presidency act. And I mean, she had a lovely profundity for those of you out there. I think this is really going to buoy your mood, Sasha. Just take a listen. Take a listen.
Strangers who, in the face of that stranger, they see a neighbor. These are folks who understand the strength and the value of community, which is everyone coming together with a shared sense of purpose and identity as a community of people.
What is she talking about?
Nobody knows.
What is she talking about?
And the laugh reflex? Oh, Mantha, laugh reflex. Joe nails it. He paints the picture every time a tough question lands. She launches into this cackling fit like someone caught her with her hand in the cookie jar. It's not nervous, it's comedic timing with built-in sound effects. Is that a glitch in the simulation? He asks rhetorically. Is her brain buffering? You wonder if you need to hit the refresh button on your perception of political discourse.
It was a thing that came out recently. There was a book. There was some book about the Kamala Harris campaign where they talked about her getting on this show. And they said a bunch of things that weren't true. They talked to, supposedly talked to like 150 different people about her and, you know, what happened with her coming on the show. I don't know if it's 150. A lot of people. They didn't talk to us, and which is kind of crazy. And which is like, they didn't even ask. But they said things that just weren't true. One of the things they said that weren't true was that we lied about the day that Trump was coming on. No, we just didn't tell you that Trump was coming on.
Then Rogan really starts cooking. He digs into the great Kamala Harris vanishing act, the Houdini of the executive branch. You know, the ex-vice president of the United States. She was the second most powerful person on the planet, yet somehow, less visible than a ghost in a blackout, Joe laughs like he just solved a riddle that ends with "Where in the world is Kamala San Diego?" He says cooking show contestants get more airtime and pressure than Herat. At least those guys have to explain why their souffle collapsed. Kamala, she just collapses into silence and lets the cackle echo in her absence. He imagines she's hiding out in some undisclosed government panic room stocked with post-its, decaf tea, and a magic mirror that reassures her she's doing great. Or maybe she's locked in a political escape room with clues written in broken metaphors, and we must do what we have done. Logic loops. Every time someone mentions the border crisis or student debt, she just whispers passage of time and vanishes like a smoke signal. And then comes the piece de resistance, the legendary Tupac tale, the story that lives in the cringe. Hall of Fame right next to that. One time a politician confused the Constitution with the Wi-Fi password.
Here's what she actually said in the Pence-Harris VP debate in 2020.
I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact.
Joe Biden will not ban fracking because Joe Biden's position was, let's not ban fracking. And he was at the top of the ticket. But listen to how she mischaracterized it. All right, I'm going to go back through it with you. Will you ban fracking? She asked. No. And I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban fracking.
Rogan's expression shifts from amused to full-on paranormal investigator. Tupac in college before his first album dropped, Joe's convinced we're not watching a political career, we're watching the multiverse unravel. He calls it less a resume and more a Marvel origin story with plot holes. He jokes that someone needs to install a narrator over her life, like in a Ken Burns documentary, just to make sense of the scenes, because without it, her timeline plays like a drunk history episode written by a GPS that lost signal halfway through. He zooms out for a moment, grinning like a man who's just watched a goat win a spelling bee, and seriously asks the question everyone's been politely choking on for the past 3 years. How, in the name of scrambled syntax, did someone this inconsistently coherent land a heartbeat away from the nuclear codes? This isn't just a misstep in the hiring process. It feels like the result of a cosmic office prank gone unchecked. Was there a meeting where the universe half-drunk and wildly bored decided to assign leadership roles using a dartboard and a blindfold? Was it an elaborate April Fool's stunt that went too far, and now everyone's too scared to admit it's still going?
How dare we say Merry Christmas?
How dare you say that?
How dare we?
It offends
Did
me.
you ever see Kamala Harris do that when she had that
She
speech?
said, "How dare you say f***ing Christmas?"
You've never seen it?
No.
Oh my God. Okay, let's start with this because it's so crazy.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas?
I don't understand the context. So, like, I wish I could be charitable and say, well, there's probably a context where this makes sense.
Yeah, Satan is the Lord of the earth is the context.
Joe leans back like he's just uncovered the last conspiracy theory that still made sense. He imagines the resume review process went something like, can she string together a sentence? Has she ever talked about root causes? Without spiraling into a TED Talk about nothing, you're hired. It's less about qualifications and more about vibes. And apparently, the vibe was yes and make it confusing. That's where Rogan's roast wraps. And just as the sound of his last chuckle fades, the tone shifts like someone slamming a gavel on a courtroom bench. Spotlight swings with surgical precision over to Megyn Kelly. Gone is the playful chaos. Now it's cold steel, sharpened edge, no-nonsense satire. She opens like a magician, exposing another magician's trick except this one doesn't involve rabbits, just disappearing acts with policy consequences. Kamala, as Houdini, but instead of escaping straitjackets, she's slipping out of every meaningful responsibility ever handed to her. She's front and center when it's ribbon cuttings and selfies with celebrities. But the second the border collapses or the diplomatic dinner starts, she vanishes like foam in hot water. Megyn zeros. In on the border czar title border Zara, roll with weight, consequence, and theoretically, maps.
And as Trump's numbers continue to go up and up and up, and I realize some of the polls are showing him beating Joe Biden now in a hypothetical matchup, he's still very vulnerable. He did not win in 2020, and it looks like it's going to be the same matchup. And honestly, Joe Biden's knocking on, the Grim Reaper's door, and she could be the president of the United States in the next 6 years by default, if things go, in a dark and upsetting way. I'm concerned.
And yet months pass, the border spirals, and she's apparently out somewhere doing everything but her job. Megyn's tone is so dry it could sand wood as she recounts the baffling decision to go, sightseeing in Guatemala instead of touching down. In Texas, she raises an eyebrow so sharp it could be classified as a weapon, and mutters the question nobody wants to ask out loud. Was the lieutenant vice president on a diplomatic mission, or hunting artisanal coffee beans and backdrops while immigration officials were drowning in chaos? She doesn't even have to yell. The absurdity is louder than a foghorn. Then there's the bit about foreign diplomacy, those carefully trimmed, tight-lipped moments with world leaders, only to follow with that trademark nervous laugh. Megyn dissects it like a forensic expert. Do those ends of sentences even know? They exist. She suggests European diplomats looked at each other like they were watching a magician make coherence disappear. Megyn shifts to history. Harris was once a toughened crime prosecutor. She locked people up for pot yet, now brags about having smoked weed with Snoop. Megyn calls it open and shut hypocrisy. It's like a kid getting punished for stealing candy, then turning around and bragging about how it's their new best friend.
And when we all sing happy tunes and sing Merry Christmas and wish each other Merry Christmas.
Let me just be the nicest person possible.
Yes.
Like, what could be the reason why you would say, how dare we say Merry Christmas?
Yeah.
Unless you're playing a character.
These children are not going to have a Merry Christmas.
Unless she's on stage doing a play. She's like, I want to read from my college.
Next up, identity politics. Megyn sees it as the shielding effect of first woman of color. She says, look, diversity credentials don't grant a get-out-of-critique-free card. Good speech must sit on merit, not medals of representation. She's delivering this like a courtroom zinger. That diversity pin doesn't include diplomatic immunity for mangled rhetoric. With mic-drop precision, she wraps her segment. The country deserves a vice president who can actually say an unbuffered sentence. She lands it. Even the subtitles stumble keeping up. If she's next in line, prepare for a comedy of errors more than a transfer of power. Then it's game on. Rogan and Kelly circled back into a crossfire riffing session. Rogan chooses that nugget, delivering in his gravelly tone, the only thing more unstable than her approval numbers is her syntax. He's getting that laugh. He seems to live for highlighting the mismatch between public safety protocols and public speaking protocols, and just when you think it couldn't possibly get more unhinged, the roast reaches DEFCON. Rogan, Kelly. The crossfire turns into a masterclass of comedic demolition. Joe kicks things off with a line that's less of a joke and more of a televised spiritual awakening. The only thing shakier than Kamala Harris's approval ratings is her syntax.
Acknowledging today, which has been completely in the tank for Team Harris, acknowledging, quote, she did not break much ground or stray far from her talking points. Maybe it's because of the pathetic display of journalism that came her way. Honestly, I don't even know if we can blame this one on Kamala Harris. I blame it on you. You were pathetic.
And not by a small margin. Imagine a sentence held together by dental floss and hope that's Kamala in public speaking form. It's like every clause she utters is fighting for its life. There are runaway commas, lost metaphors, and verbs, sobbing in the corner. Megyn doesn't miss a beat. She's practically pacing like she's cross-examining a witness who just pled guilty to grammar crimes. She adds, if Biden faceplants one more time, Kamala becomes president. And that's not just terrifying, that's Netflix sitcom material. You can see the pitch now, Madam Vice President, the sitcom nobody ordered. In episode 1, she attempts to address the nation, and halfway through, just starts reciting the Declaration of Independence in reverse. Together, they begin crafting the ultimate mock campaign ad. Picture it. Patriotic music, swelling, American, flags waving, and Kamala mid-cycle delivering a speech that may or may not be in English. Joe goes full throttle. Vote Kamala, he intones dramatically. Confuse the nation one cackle at a time. It's got all the charm of a late-night infomercial, minus the free shipping. He deadpans. I'd rather vote for the vending machine that ate my dollar at the airport. It might be broken, but at least it responds to input when you kick it.
I always wondered with Kamala Harris, like I've seen her talk before and she's hilarious.
So the scientists and the astronauts and the mathematicians and the Vice President of the United States.
Some people just clam up.
Good afternoon, everyone.
When they get in front of a camera and when they know the whole world's watching and they know there's a lot of pressure, and if they've f***ed up a bunch of times before.
And is that a socialist or progressive perspective?
No.
Like, to be good at public speaking under pressure, you have to have a lot of reps in.
That he is entitled to his opinion.
You got to do it a long time.
She's running for president?
I understand.
Megyn's laughing, but surgical as ever. She suggests Kamala's campaign slogan should be, words we use them, mostly. They brainstorm new ones, like leadership you can question and experience you can't Google. At this point even, the laugh track would pack up and walk out from sheer secondhand embarrassment. Then they get honest. Not nice, but honest. They clarify, she's not some comic book villain twirling a mustache in a smoke-filled room. She's not evil. She's just so wildly underprepared, it makes middle school debate. Club captains look like the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Joe compares her to a sitcom extra, suddenly thrust into the role of neurosurgeon. She's got the clipboard, the lab coat, the big confident gestures, but when it's time to operate, she's holding the scalpel backwards and yelling about time passages. Megyn brings it home with surgical sarcasm. Every sentence is a journey, and unfortunately, none of them end at the destination. They fizzle out somewhere around the root causes of her next word salad. The crossfire doesn't just roast it. Slow cooks, braises, and flams. They don't need shouting. They don't need anger, just facts dressed in sarcasm, sautéed in sharp wit, and plated on a bed of incredulity. And somewhere in the back, Kamala's approval rating is clutching its pearls, wondering where the floor went.
Do you remember that question they asked Trump to kick off his appearance there? Basically, why are you such a raging racist? We know you hate black people. Why are you even here? And how did it go when Kamala Harris sat down? Here's one example, courtesy of Jaron Keith Gaynor of The Griot.
Why is joy important to you to insert into this election? What do you make of Republicans using that as a way to suggest that you're not a serious candidate?
And no one, absolutely no one, is waiting for the sequel. Kelly retorts with her surgical edge. If Biden trips again, guess who's next? It's not just scary, it's sitcom material. They build this scenario. Imagine her as president, on stage announcing the Secret Santa recipients, but half the country is still trying to untie her dangling modifiers. Cue the mock campaign at its gold. Vote Kamala, confuse the nation one cackle at a time. Rogan interrupts, stone-faced. I'd vote for the vending machine that ate my dollar last week. It at least responds to input. I lean into the irony-laced consensus. She's not malicious. She's just wildly under... Rogan tosses the final line. It's like casting a sitcom extra as a heart surgeon looks right. Sounds wrong, causes damage. Boom. Punchline delivered. Kelly lands the strategic takedown. The only way she'll finish a complete thought is if you feed it to her with a script. And even then you're crossing your fingers. This wasn't a debate. No need for rebuttals. No dramatic stare-downs. Just unfiltered takedowns, each delivering their lines with comedic precision. Joe voice full of disbelief and humor. Megyn razor, sharp and unapologetically finished about it.